Each week we talk about and show how KFM develops multiple opponent training methods with one clear objective in mind. We must always try to express to the best of our ability everything that we learn and absorb via the shadow fighting. And as mentioned before, the shadow fighting really is a true reflection of our physical reality. Because the shadow really is the foundation of our physical development and our physical reality, we need to develop our ability to analyse, question and resolve the constant struggle within our own mind. Ultimately, the shadow expresses the creativity and strength of our thoughts in motion via the body. This week we present the Pensa Patada Direct, or translated the Thinking Man front kick. We see Roland continue to use his predatory attitude, which helps him to focus on balance, whilst monitoring the area and adjusting his body mechanics to perform this simple yet effective street kick. As in every class, this is just the technical development. The hows and whys are where our real work starts. Pensa Patada in KFM is initially used as a way of understanding how to break the distance that separates us from our opponents. A thorough understanding of combination and elements is essential if we are to develop our ability to connect. It is important that we implement good physical and mental training right from the beginning, because one without the other means we will never really develop a genuine understanding of our application. The pensador is crucial in the implementation of the Pensa Patada. The pensador is not just to protect ourselves. The objective of the pensador here is control, as this is how we can enter into close range without drastic consequences. Pensa Patada also possesses chameleon-like characteristics. It's not just a technique for kicking, as we will see and understand a little better in the future, but it also has the ability to bewilder and confuse the opponent. Roland walks through each movement slowly, so that we can see the mechanical connection between each of the attacks. As we all know by this stage, being able to connect or combine the technical movement is critical if we are to apply these weapons in application. We always need to know why we are doing a thing, otherwise it has no value. The punch and kick is nothing new, far from it. So what's the challenge? Our challenge is to find and develop ways of extracting more ability from something that everybody knows, or think they know. Experience helps us to understand that there are always ways of improving and developing our physical and emotional understanding of urban street application. In these simple combinations in the white grade, the pad feeder always makes clear to the predator what he will be calling and feeding. Roland maintains a relaxed but alert attitude, and he needs to pay attention to the voice, as the voice is not just a simple command, but one of the three major senses that we need to develop for the street environment. It's not always easy to cross-reference our training with the reality of the club and pub environment, but obviously if we decide to study the street and the arena of self-defence, then we need to pay great attention to the development of our senses, which in turn instigate action and reaction under pressure. We must work on developing our senses during our training if we want to catch the reality of the street. Audio, visual and tactile are all major sensory elements that are in a state of heightened alertness when the human is under pressure or in a physically stressed situation. Here we see how Ruben initiates an attack while ordering Roland to respond. Roland's action-reaction is audio-based. This will create the ability to act and react emotionally. Battle is an emotional one, and with this particular style of exercise we work on developing our audio reaction abilities, and the consequence of this development means that we start paying more attention to the sounds around us during a state of pressure and emotional stress. In this exercise, Ruben, in green, provokes an attack using his voice to instigate a response from Roland. The concept is called knocking on the door. Roland attacks the limbs of his opponents, only here it's shown on the focus pads, in order to get a response from Ruben. Roland destroys the incoming attack from Ruben and returns another attack, that being the pensa patada. It is essential to understand the reasons behind why we do what we do. This kind of exercise provokes, stimulates, and develops our action and reaction abilities. They cultivate our emotional and physical world and start to give what we are all aiming to achieve: predatory, animalistic abilities. Here we come to the development of the technique in application with two opponents. Watch as Ruben and Roland order an attack from Greg, who is in the centre, and how Greg listens and responds. Here we must appreciate how Greg pays great attention to the two opponents, and this is where we can begin to assess whether we really are absorbing the capacity to act and react emotionally against two opponents. It's here, against two opponents, where the true understanding of simple things in application become our reality. Hitting the human body is not as easy as people think. And let's not forget, these are only training exercises at this stage of the game, and are a long way off the intense brutality of a full-on attack. But these exercises help us to keep it real, by giving value to how difficult it is to execute many of the things that a lot of people think are easy. Watching this second part of the development, how Greg observed the movements of his two opponents. Attention and attitude are his emotional answers. Little by little he is starting to cultivate his primal action and reaction abilities. This primal instinct is the one thing that gives life to the physical and emotional knowledge that we absorb via our daily training. We are in week 9 of the white level, and we are already starting to feel more involved and better understand ourselves. At this moment in time, our only pressure is to react to the voice. Our emotional stress is moderate, thus allowing us to express ourselves fully without fear of receiving any serious consequences. Two-man predator training really is a fantastic way to develop everything that we learn. And let's not forget that we are our own limit, and that limit can only be imposed by our own train of thoughts, which are cultivated in the mind. It's a bit like a chaotic melting pot, where we can throw anything in and see what cooks. It's a place where we really get the chance to see who we are, and how we express ourselves, as far as our physical and emotional abilities go. And even in the white grade, when the level of intensity is still relatively low, and everybody knows what part they are playing and what work is to be developed, it can still push our personal limits with not too much effort. What does this tell us? It tells us that with only a little pressure, in a relatively controlled environment, that simple things are not as simple as many like to think or profess to understand. If we are taking the dynamic visualisation part of this programme seriously, we will feel how quickly it starts to help in our development and expression of our shadow fighting. Patience and persistence are essential requirements in achieving our goals. To be constantly pushing our boundaries every day, in truth, is very difficult, as we humans like comfort, and anything that makes us uncomfortable creates a mental resistance.